Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in a special episode of Running to Write, where normally I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors, but tonight I'm joined by a couple of special guests. So let's go around the circle and introduce ourselves. Richard, you are up first.
Hi, I'm Richard. I'm the author of Price War, a thriller/techno thriller book, and I'm from the UK.
Martin.
I'm Martin. I'm one half of the pen name Bradley Lejeune, writing space opera science fiction, specifically the McMurdo Rift series. And I am also in the UK.
And Shannon, who are you?
I am Shannon. I write under the pen name of SC Houston. I have a YouTube channel under the name of SC Houston where I publish content about self-publishing and writing, but I do a lot of writing sprints as well. I am 1/3 of the podcast of the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast with Ben Pick and Morgan Lee. And I'm also a part of the AWC and founder of the AWC, which is the AuthorTube Writing Conference. And we are gearing up for our 3rd year now. We're actually going to have applications are going to open about 3 weeks after this airs. So be on the lookout. And it's only going to be open for a month, which is a whole month shorter than last year. So yes, definitely look out for that. And I am a YA fantasy, although I'm rebranding it to adult at this point because YA is on a decline. I've been doing that was most of my week this week was I was researching the categories, and YA, everything fantasy is on a decline, everything. So, but the same categories in the adult categories, like epic fantasy, sword and sorcery fantasy, all of that, those are all on an uptick. That they're actually increasing. And I always knew I wanted to rebrand to adult anyways. So I'm rebranding my quietly. I'm not doing anything overt other than changing categories. Later, I'll be more overt with it, but changing my Clash of Goddesses series, which is Irish mythology. And that's fantasy. And it's set in an epic fantasy setting. And I also am now moving into romance fantasy. It's epic fantasy romance. Sorry. And that is currently on Indiegogo, which is an in-demand platform. Everything that's available to ship out will be shipped out right away as I continue to fulfill my Kickstarter, which I did and ended in the end of July. So I'm still working on those fulfillments. And that's what I've been working on. And that's me. I'm in the U.S.
Yeah, I'm also in the U.S. Perfect. Thank you so much. And the reason why I brought all of you on is because I know what you've done over the past year, specifically in 2023. And each of you has gone a different marketing route. And I've kind of tried to take and adapt what each of you have done separately. Shannon, I know you have several videos. There's one for free marketing tools. There's another for marketing tools that you pay for. And you've done a whole bunch of different videos all in marketing. And Martin, I know you create a video and you walk me through, or maybe you didn't create a video, but you definitely did walk me through how to do Facebook ads and how to make those successful. And then Richard, I know you have done some free marketing tools which were really successful and they got you to the #1 on the charts. So I brought all of you three in to ask you some questions and try and figure out what worked for marketing strategies and how we can give advice for how to close out this year and maybe going on into 2024. And definitely tracking trends is up there, Shannon. So thank you for bringing that up early. That is very, very interesting to know to sell to your market. And it actually, I kind of prefer to have it where you didn't write those books to be adult, but you're kind of changing what they're like you're not writing to market, which is always kind of behind the trends, but you are changing how you're marketing your book, which is fascinating. So let's get just a couple of ideas out there. So what have we all done for 2023 marketing strategies?
Should we say this is questionable writing advice that we give?
Yeah, certainly.
I'm just joking. I'm using your normal catchphrase there.
I know. You're all good. You can phrase it however you want. But I mean, from everything I've seen, your Indiegogo has been a wild success. So I'm really curious. Let's start with you first then. What have you done this year to market your books?
Okay, I have a whole list here because I did it by category. So, okay, marketing is an ongoing process. Consistently engaging with your audience and releasing new content regularly if you can. I know some of us are not always able to. We get caught up with other things, and then adapting your marketing strategies. And I would say this year was more about adapting my marketing strategies because.
Martin, what have you done for marketing this year?
Throwing some books across the wall and see what sticks. The big thing with the launch of book 2 was I did a countdown deal with book 1 and put it for 99 cents and put that in several newsletters. The best result for me was Book Barbarian, and I think that's something that greatly depends on genre. And that was about $50 to be featured, and between the two books I made that back and then some.
Nice.
I've had quite a lot of luck with Facebook ads, both being really specific in my targeting and with using video, which seems to offer a better return than images. But they are changing things up now. There's a lot of ads where people were simply targeting an age group and a country, and the algorithm. People are now just targeting a age group and a country, and the algorithm is doing the rest.
Okay.
I've not had a chance to sort of play around with that yet, but be interesting to see how it's going. I know some friends who've had a lot of luck with it.
Sure. And Richard, can you just give us a brief overview of the things you've done for marketing this year?
Yes. I've done my usual of newsletter swaps to build my newsletter audience, and I did a couple of sort of promotions across the year where I sort of pay to feature my book in a sort of series of newsletters that go out to quite a lot of people. And one of them was one where my book was 99p or 99 cents. And the other one was where my book was free to download on Kindle. And one was a lot more successful than the other. I'll let you take a wild guess which one was better. But that's basically what I've been doing. I did try some Facebook ads for the kind of free promo, but I turned those off fairly rapidly because I found they were just turning into money sinks, and I wasn't getting very much return on investment there. So I just turned those off and just kind of relied on the ones I paid to have features in, which I found was quite successful.
And as for myself, I tried some of everything. I did Book Barbarian. I did Fuzzy Librarian. I've done Facebook ads. I've done, half a dozen other similar services. A lot of them were including my book in a newsletter format, which just sends out to a wide distribution list. The results have definitely been mixed, but overall, unfortunately for myself, unlike Martin, I have not seen a good return on investment for each of those. Now, there are different caveats to that, and we can get to it as we move on to the other questions, because I know I do have a specific thing that I want to ask you about ROI, and Richard has gone above and beyond with a spreadsheet-based graph that is coming up in store for all of you. So let's see, and Shannon is back in, so we can try and see what you've been doing for marketing. So what tools have you used? Just give us a quick headline of the tools you use. So you mentioned Kindle Unlimited. What else have you done?
So Amazon Ads, Kindle Unlimited, email marketing, book promos, book reviews, which those boost your book's credibility, visibility, and create social proof. Networking, of course, with through Story Origin, Book Funnel, also a women's fantasy group that I'm part of, and doing that and doing cross promotions and swaps. There's also soft marketing in using social media. I started a TikTok account, my author platform and website, which my main platform is on YouTube. And then I also did book a company for promotion for my Kickstarter, which is the last marketing thing that I did was a Kickstarter.
And we definitely do want to ask you more questions about your Indiegogo, sorry, your Kickstarter, which then shifted over to different platforms. Now, I know a lot of us are new authors, so I don't know if this necessarily applies, but what marketing have we used in the past? So before 2023.
Most of my marketing were the book promos, and I still did the book reviews because I do that mostly through voracious readers only. But I also do some of those also through Story Origin. In which Story Origin is a monthly amount or a yearly cost, which I switched over to yearly cost this year versus monthly last year. So those are things I did already. I did the ads. I did a lot of book promos. I did a lot of networking through Story Origin and book reviews. That was mostly what I did before. And I would say the biggest portion of that, especially monetarily, were the book promotions. I did book promotions like every month for the first year plus that my books were published.
Interesting. Yeah, I've done some book promotions, but they certainly haven't been on a monthly basis. They were on special events, such as when my book turned 1. I did a big promotion then for the book release, for the book promotion. I haven't really done a book release promotion yet, so that might be something to try out for the 3rd book.
And I think that too makes a difference because last year I had 2 books release and I spent a lot of money on book promos for those releases. This year I had a short story and an anthology release and I only did soft marketing, so I didn't spend any money. And then I had my Kickstarter, which was a launch of a book. That's kind of a marketing tactic that combines crowdfunding with book promotion. So, and of course, I didn't pay a lot for that. I paid for my upfront costs to design my book cover and other things to get your book ready that you would normally do anyways. But then I paid for things because I hit certain amounts in the dollar. So then I paid for an artist to do wallpaper and I paid for an artist to do a couple different things. And so I paid outside of that for the Kickstarter, but I've already received that money from the crowdfunding. So
yeah, that's a really smart and useful way of getting your book out there, because I know I just am in the middle of the editing process. And so that is a significant upfront cost that I may or may not get back in the future. And to have that money already set aside definitively through Kickstarter is really beneficial.
And I would push because I paid for an editor for my first series, and that's the biggest portion of my debt because I'm still $4,000 in debt with that series. And I feel that if you've worked with an editor, you start to learn the things that you need to fix, especially when it comes to proofing and errors. And I know you pay for developmental editing as well. But if it comes to proofing and errors, you kind of start picking up the things that you've from other editors to tell you, hey, this is what you need to look out for, basically, because you do this a lot. Yep. And then you try to, exchange services, which is what I did with Martin's partner. I exchanged book services with him where I edited their book and Malcolm edited my book. I also exchanged with my girlfriend from college who's been self-publishing for many years. So I edited her latest book and she edited my book for me as well. The same book. So.
Oh, that's really smart.
Yeah. Save money that way.
No, I was going to say, Martin, what have you been doing for marketing before this year? How did you ramp up to success?
I was really soft when we only had one book out. I ran some Facebook ads, but more with the agenda of learning the platform rather than trying to be a runaway success. Because obviously, if you're selling a book for $2.99, $3.99, you're only going to make $2.50 per sale, give or take, and it's going to cost you a lot more in ad spend to get that sale. But that did give me the ability to really figure out what worked and what didn't. I tried Amazon ads a bit and never really had much success with that. It either wouldn't show the ads at all or would simply take your whole budget if you raised it up high enough to get seen. But again, that's something that's quite genre dependent, and people have more success going in and really playing with the ad copy and what have you. But it's not something I've ever managed to really see much success with.
So I took a class this week with a webinar with a gentleman. I guess I've never met him before, but I met him through knew of him. So I didn't meet him personally, but the class, I think it was through Mark Dawson. So Mark Dawson brought him on to talk about advanced Amazon ad strategies. And they found in their research, because they have a company that they do different ads, and they found the research with Amazon ads that there's no difference in sales between having the ad copy and not having it when you have just a sponsored ad. So they said, don't even worry about the copy, having a copy, do it the easy way where you're just doing the keywords and stuff. So.
Good to know. And Richard, how did you market your earlier books like Nightmare Tenant?
Sorry, yeah, acting like I actually marketed that book. Last year was basically just building up my kind of newsletter list. I didn't really do much apart from that. Again, I've not really had much success with Facebook ads. I just find them to be money sinks. Probably because I'm going too broad with them. But yeah, not been a particularly successful experiment. I also did try to totally answer a different question that you didn't ask. This year, I also did a few Amazon ads, but again, they weren't particularly worth doing, in my opinion. I didn't get any kind of result on them. It was kind of actually, funnily enough, a low spend, but low click or anything like that. It's kind of interesting that I think in Shannon's video, she talks a lot about putting your ad copy that is only available on the Amazon.com US marketplace. If you're stuck in the UK like me, you don't get that option to put an ad blurb on. You just have to go with the keywords. I think.
But if that guy is right,
US ad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I found that a bit difficult to do. I didn't kind of understand what I was doing on the website. To be honest, it seems like a few hoops to go through. Getting the keywords is quite interesting because I ended up using a list provided by ChatGPT. So whether or not that was effective remains to be seen.
All right.
Basically, I did nothing.
I've been doing some experimentation. Some of the tools I used were Voracious Readers, which in theory, it's a list of people, a list of potential readers who sign up. They want to get a free copy of your book. You send it out to them, ebook, obviously. And they also sign up for your newsletter. So they'll get bombarded with emails of, hey, read my book, read my book, read my book. And hopefully you kind of draw them in, if not in the initial email, then in the subsequent newsletters that they kind of opt into.
Read my book, read my book, read my book.
And they're expanding how their business model where I didn't know they had on Instagram. I just didn't know it until I got tagged earlier this week. And they tagged me because one of the readers who got my book left a review. And so they tagged the review and the reader and then tagged me.
Nice.
So I was like, oh, and I hadn't seen that review yet. So
that kind of goes along another kind of total tangent as to whether authors should be tagged in reviews. I know there's a bit of controversy about that.
As long as you don't answer them, I think it's all right.
Yeah.
Like you can tag an author, you can tag Stephen King in whatever thing and say, hey, this is the best book ever. And then as long as he doesn't say, unless he, you can say like, hey, thanks for reading it. Or even if it's a terrible review, you can say, hey, this is the worst book I ever read. You can still say thanks for reading it. But you don't want to go back and say like, hey, why did you rate it this way? It's basically just like a thumbs up mark in Slack or something, or a heart in Instagram.
And for Voracious Readers only, it is a marketing tactic for them. Because if they tag the author and the author is seeing they're getting reviews from their service, well, then they're going to talk about it on a podcast like this or an episode like this. And so it's more marketing for them.
Exactly.
No such thing as
how have you found? Oh no!
What were you saying, Martin?
Shut up, Martin.
All right. So I want to.
How have you? How have you guys found YouTube plays into your marketing?
Almost exclusively.
I noticed that you both have quite prominent YouTube channels, and Richard's here.
60% of my Kickstarter backers are from YouTube.
I was number 2.
Yes.
Yeah, same here. I mean, it seems like almost everyone I know who has read my book or especially reviewed it, that's the bigger thing, is I can tie almost every single person who has reviewed my book to YouTube as somebody I know through the community.
Because I think, Ben, you did a video featuring my book along with others, including Martin's book. And I think another sort of author / YouTuber did a video review, which I featured on my channel. But generally, to answer Martin's question, YouTube does not factor into my kind of marketing strategy.
Didn't you have a book release party?
I did that for Nightmare Tenor last year. Oh yeah, I did one for Pricewell with Barrett Laurie. Yeah, that was good.
I was gonna say you were on Barrett Laurie's channel.
I nagged him senseless to set that up.
Yeah, so see,
that
you're able to use YouTube to get yourself in touch with other authors and other potential readers who might
Networking.
be interested in your book. Or if not, then they can pass on the message.
I mean, I would like to do that a bit more, but I have this terrible kind of fear of kind of asking people things. I'm very sort of tactful and very like, you know.
I think that's most writers.
Me by accident.
That's most writers.
Yeah.
I think you're being uncharacteristically humble here.
Would any of you mind talking about the cost of some of these services? So I can definitely start because I'm very comfortable and open with how much I've spent and or wasted in the marketing process. So for example, with Martin going to Facebook ads, for 1 month of running Facebook ads with video that has a button that takes them right to my book itself on Amazon, that cost me about $110 for a month or 5 weeks of running those ads on Facebook. And I did notice a slight bump in sales, but for that $100 I spent, it might equate to 10 to 20 sales of the ebook, but it was nothing significant. And there were a couple of times where I had the Facebook ads running and I saw a whole bunch of the metrics that they give are click-through rates. So did somebody watch the video? Did somebody watch the ad? And then did they click on the link, that being the button to, buy now? And I had a couple thousand, whatever that metric is called. I forget off the top of my head, but it is what?
Impressions.
Yes, impressions. Thank you. So I had, a couple thousand, 6,000, 10,000 impressions. That means that somebody saw my video and then clicked on the buy now button, and that didn't equate to a noticeable bump in sales, which I've said this before, but I think it leads me to either a bunch of people. I don't know why anybody would watch an ad and then click on the buy now button and not buy the book, especially since it says, buy now for $1. So it's not like they're being hit with a sudden, this is $100 or this is $10 book. No, it's a $1 ebook that the ad directly funneled you to. So I think the problem with Facebook is a lot of it is just bots or not necessarily, or people who might not be paying attention, who aren't actually aligned to purchase the book that they're maybe watching an ad for.
That's true.
I don't know.
I find what's actually good about Facebook is like with Amazon, it's a bit more holistic. You can say spend $5 a day and it will just sort of shrug and, maybe spend, 1 or 2, maybe spend nothing. Whereas Facebook, if you say spend $5 a day, it's spending $5 a day. And I've actually had some really good luck just setting ads at like $1.50 a day, and getting a couple of sales just off the back of that. I haven't really gone. I just sort of do a week at a time and keep it quite limited. And the amount of clicks, I generally get about a click every 100 impressions. I don't always break even from those ads, but it's through getting those sales, it keeps the Amazon algorithm recommending you to other readers. So it can be a good thing to keep doing, even if that doesn't. I usually either break even or come in a bit short, sort of depending how many clicks I get. But obviously that's with 2 books, so you're quite limited in how many sales you can get. If you have like a 4, 5, 6 book series, that's where people really see success with this method.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what I'll also say is that, Facebook ads, they can go anywhere. You can tell it where the target where to go. Of course, if we're having a book on Amazon, we're probably trying to get it to go to Amazon, where Amazon ads go to Amazon. Except that recently, as of August, what was that date? August 16th is the date of the article, but I think this happened right before. So Amazon is now putting their ads on third-party apps like Pinterest and things like this. And the idea is that what people are expecting, those who work in Amazon ads, what they're foretelling, they're not sure this is what's going to happen, is that Amazon will now start using that $5 limit a day or whatever limit it is you put on there. It will now start using it because it's going to be on third-party apps now. So.
One of the best things I've discovered with Facebook ads as well is if you see ads in your feed for other books, you can click on it and there's an option which says, why am I seeing this? And it will tell you what other authors are targeting, which can be insanely powerful.
Good information. Yeah, that's good
Interesting.
information. I haven't done Facebook ads yet. I know I've been trying to get there all year. Probably not going to happen this year. It'll be another goal for next year.
Martin, you saw one of my Facebook ads, didn't you?
Yes, but I didn't click it.
Thank you.
Not the
I already have the book. I didn't want to up your ad spend.
It's very kind of you. On the point of Amazon ads going to third-party sites, and that's quite an interesting strategy. Not sure how I feel about that, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
Though, of course, not being funny, I use an ad blocker on the web, so it's kind of a bit academic to me. They may end up increasing the downloads of ad blockers if they irritate people too much with that.
No. Are any of you comfortable discussing whether you notice the difference between free marketing tools versus the $50 to $100 sales? Like where I mentioned how Facebook, over the course of a month, I spent $100. Martin, you mentioned you spent $50 on Book Barbarian, and there's a couple of other services that we spend money on. There's also there's also plenty of free services. And Shannon, you actually had an entire video with like 7 different free services that are out there that you can utilize. So
I'm sorry, I never answered your last question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just realized I never did answer it. I'm like, oh shoot, maybe he thought I was comfortable sharing.
Go for it.
So I don't know all my numbers by breakdown, but it's definitely different. So I looked at like last year, I spent $1,635 and some change on book promotions. This year, I only spent $133.74 on book promotions. So much, much less. And I made just under $1,000 for the whole year last year, but that was including I have a course I sell on Udemy. So that included course income from there. And then, of course, the AWC brought in some money that year. It wasn't a whole lot, but I got some money. But this year, I am almost at $5,000. And, of course, a large portion of that is the Kickstarter. That was $3,800. But I've already made a lot more money this year than I did last year. And, yeah. So I still think in the end, it's going to be negative because I added on BookFunnel this year. I only did Story Origin, which was $100 for the year. And I added BookFunnel this year. That's another $100. And I did save some money by changing my email platform, but that's like $7 a month is all I'm saving. And I'm trying to think of anything else that I did differently. So mostly what I did differently was the book promotions. I just did a whole lot less. That really came through in the fact that people are not looking for Irish mythology, and the fact that there's no Irish mythology category on Amazon should have been a big red flag to me when I first started, but I didn't know enough to know enough about that when I started. So.
Okay.
What's your process for would you say that your new series is written to trend?
Well, yes. So I get the reports from Alex Newton, and that is Klytics, Klytics. Klytics. I know I don't say it right. I can't hear how I'm saying it wrong, but most people don't know what I'm saying. That's why I was spelling it. So I pull the reports from them, and I get the fantasy report whenever it comes out because I know I'm always going to like writing in fantasy. That's my base. That's my home base. And when I pulled it, I looked at the genres, and this was 2 Januaries ago, and I saw that there was a huge increase in fantasy romance. There was a 300% increase in sales over the last 2 to 3 years before that. So, and I thought, well, I read romance. I mean, the 2 genres I read are fantasy and romance. And I wasn't even really aware that there was a fantasy romance genre. So I devoured everything fantasy romance last year. So that's when I decided that I was going to move into fantasy romance. And I felt like I could do it. And I think the first novel came out really well. So, and then I pulled the report again. The fantasy romance came out again. It dropped a little bit. It's not 300%, but it's still pretty high. but the the one that's high now is dark fantasy romance, which I'm not writing dark fantasy romance.
I should have brought Morgan on here.
Yes.
Morgan Lee.
Yeah. Well, and I think she's moving away from that so much because she's moved into a couple other different genres now. But she's finishing up her trilogy though. And yeah, so I don't know if I think I even purposely tried to write I'm gonna go and write to trend, but I'm looking at what is selling and what I would be happy writing. So I think it has to be a good cross right there, because if you're not happy writing it, it's going to be like torture. Why did I quit my job teaching college English and literature to write stuff that I'm not happy writing? So I still want to be happy with what I'm writing. So yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a really good habit once a month or so to just look at your genre's chart on Amazon and take a note of who's in it and what subgenres are doing well, and what's popping up a lot, and what are you seeing less than you used to, and what are the covers doing, which is one of those things that you know, a lot of people don't seem to do. And
Right.
I've definitely caught a couple of trends on the rise that with hindsight I really wish I'd sort of just jumped on it the first time I saw it. But
And the
you sort of-
K-Lytics report does kind of capture all that too for the last year.
yeah.
So. Because I don't know, have you guys ever pulled a K-Lytics report before?
Yeah.
No? Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I find it very useful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I guess that's why I don't know. I think my biggest problem is that I write the books that I want to read, and that doesn't necessarily translate well to first of all finding a good category for it, because my book is
Cross. Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's there's definitely some crosses. It's going to branch out more, starting with book 3 into other genres. Spoiler.
But you always promote the first book. So whatever your first book has, that makes it hard, because even if the genre goes like my genre, my books use more Greek mythology later, which is a big category. But it's hard to market my book, my first book, and promote that one as Greek mythology because very little Greek mythology in it.
Yeah.
So
actually, sorry, it's the 4th book where things are going to go wildly.
even further
the third book. So I have the 3rd book written. I'm planning out the 4th book, and the 4th book is just going completely
way different.
Yeah. It's still the same genre, still the same characters, but they are, expanding outward more. Anyways, back to the question. Back to the questions. So, have you all noticed a significant difference between, say, free marketing services versus the ones that you pay a lot more money for?
So I haven't utilized the free stuff as much this year because I did try other things like the Kickstarter, which takes a lot of time to do a Kickstarter. Very, very time intensive. So the Kickstarter and just I've tried more networking stuff. So like I said, I haven't spent that much on book promos this year. And the only reason that I'm still using book promos with my first series, even though I feel like it's not as marketable as it might be maybe eventually if someone wants Irish mythology, it's because I just want to keep it relevant and keep me relevant with the system in Amazon. So I do try to do a promotion, and the main part of that is just to stay relevant. Even if I'm not making money off of it, it's to stay relevant. So but I haven't really used a lot of free marketing techniques. If you think about it, Kickstarter is free. You don't have to pay the platform anything to go and put a book up there and try to sell it. It's free. So, but you're still doing your costs, which you would do anyways if you're using free marketing service, which is, book cover, your editing, all that stuff that you would normally do. So in a way, I guess I did use free. Just it's really weird to say Kickstarter is free, but it is for the author. So maybe that's the only thing I've really done this year that was free. And of course that brought me the most amount of money I've ever made on any of my books. So
good. Anyone else? Free services versus things we pay for?
I think well, it doesn't help that obviously all the clicks go to Amazon, so we don't have the insanely detailed data sets we'd have if we were all selling direct. But then you never know how many people wouldn't even click through to a shop that isn't well known and asking for their credit card information. I find the big difference is if you're paying for ads or a promo, you tend to see results that week. If you're doing free stuff, it sort of trickles in and it's much harder to link it back to a specific post.
So you're talking about
I've
like social
definitely
media
had-
posts.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay. My mind went somewhere else when he said free. I was thinking the free promo sites, but you're talking.
I mean, there's anything whatever you
Right,
want to use,
right,
whatever you
yeah.
want to use. I mean, using social media accounts, you know, that's something free that everybody can do and definitely should. There's also, you know, some, you know, free services.
I say there are analytics that come with all the other sites. Like IG has analytics, but you have to set yourself up as a business, and then you get to see the analytics and what's being clicked. I don't want to do that because I'm not into IG enough to do it.
Right.
So, but I did a lot of that.
I've definitely had a lot of luck with TikTok, and that's useful because you can put a video together, you know, in minutes, and then reuse it across Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and you know, even if you only get a couple of hundred views on TikTok, you might get another 100 on Instagram, and then 1,000 on Facebook. And each platform have slightly different algorithms, so it might die on its ass on one, and a month later start getting hundreds of views on another. And you know, it just keeps your presence out there. And Facebook has a feature that lets you invite anyone that's liked your video to your page. The same with ads. So then they will then get anything you post served up to them, which is really useful come launch time. And I've done that and had people join the page. And then when I launch the next book, you know, had them already be like, oh, I've already got it. Yeah, which is exactly what you want. And if you can scale that, you're laughing.
All right. And Richard, would you like to go through your very well crafted, gold star worthy metrics that you have compiled together for this?
Oh crap! Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw it up on the screen now. So if you want to just walk us through what you spent it on, whether it was worth it, and what you got back.
I will do that. Thank you, Ben. So we're going to look very briefly at my 2 promos that I did for Price War this year. This is my brilliant marketing strategy. So in May, I did a promo where I priced the book on like a Kindle countdown thing for 99p/99 cents, depending where you're from. So it ran for about, if you look at this, you see my mouse, by the way.
Yeah.
So it kind of, there was various different platforms that I booked it on. So I had to approximate by the dates of the sales to what promos it went on to. So this may not be totally accurate because, of course, we don't have that kind of click-through data set as Martin alluded to earlier. So over the course of this promo, it ran for about a week. There was also a newsletter that I did as part of that, but I didn't feature that because, of course, I do a newsletter. Anyway, so in May, I sold 24 copies of the book at 99p/C. I used a combination of 4 promo services that I paid. And the best result, I believe, was Book Barbarian, where I got this large amount of proportionally large amount of downloads on the 10th of May. I don't think Best Book Monkey actually did anything. I don't know whether I booked it too late. I didn't actually see the promo itself in the end. I had a few days where nothing happened, as you can see here and here. So my total cost was £95 essentially, which works out at about $115, $116. And then I looked at how much this cost per unit I managed to sell during this period. So I sold 24 units. I spent £95. The cost per sale was quite high, to be honest. So even if I'd sold these books at the kind of regular sticker price, I would have been at a loss anyway. But hey ho, we learned from that. Then if I go to my next slide, too
Well,
slow.
I would say that most
Yeah.
promotions you lose money. It's the idea is that you do a promotion on a book that's in a series, and that's where you get your money back. From almost everybody I listen to,
Mhm.
that's what they say is you're going to lose money on promotions that
Yeah.
you do.
I wasn't actually expecting to break even, to be frank, and
Yeah.
also bear in mind that Price War is book one of a series. Books 2 and 3 are still works in progress at the moment, so they're not ready, and book 2 probably won't be ready for a number of months at this point. So this was my kind of results from the promo where I just lowered the price. When I just click this, so obviously in August I did a different promo where my book was free. And so you'll see immediately that I sold a quite significantly high number of books.
And to chime in on that, you made it to #1 for your category on
Oh, yeah, I didn't
Amazon.
put that on the slide, did I? Oh, that's silly, mate. So yeah, I sold nearly 2,000. I sold inverted commas. I managed to get downloads nearing 2,000 units, which was really impressive for me. I didn't expect this to happen at all. I think you can see by my graph, this is when the free booksy / fussy librarian combo thing that I booked went out. I didn't actually do any other promos on this. I just did this, to be honest.
I know you said it says one promo service and it was a combo, but those are two different services.
It was. If I just have a quick look, I believe their combined audience share was 587,000 people.
But they are two different services, just so you
Yeah.
know. They have their own audiences. They just put it together to show you the combined, yeah.
Yeah,
Because you can book them separately.
No, and actually I found having them booking as part of like a package deal was actually a lot more convenient.
Yeah.
I'd definitely do that again.
I did that through Crave Books. I used Crave Books to do a package with like the free booksy, fussy librarian, and stuff like that all at once. Yeah.
So I'd definitely do this again, and I'd definitely do it with more kind of promo stacking as well with other things, because then the amount of units sold was quite impressive to me. And because my goal with this promotion was not necessarily to make sales, was to get my book either on people's Kindles or in their accounts, just for a bit of impressions. And the read through or page reads after this have not been wonderful, shall we say? But I'm not really worried about that, because it just means my book has been downloaded by people, so it's sitting on their Kindles and they could read it at any point in the future, or they could download it at any point in the future. It's there. Also, as Ben said, I managed to come #1 in two categories. I think it was the dystopian 3 and the techno thriller 3 charts on Kindles, which was really quite exciting, to be honest. With my little book came top of those two categories for a brief period of time. So obviously I screenshotted that and didn't put it on the slide because I did this just a few minutes ago. But yeah, I was quite impressed with this. Again, I was a little, I don't want to sound ungrateful. I was a bit annoyed I didn't hit 2,000 downloads, but that's something for me to aspire to. Next time, would I do this again and do more promos and do some real promo stacking with this? I think the major kind of limitation with this for me is that Amazon KDP, when you're enrolled in KDP Select, you only get, I think, 5 free days every 3 months.
Yeah.
If I could do 5 days every month for free, or every 2 months maybe, I would definitely use it more. So you have to kind of use these kind of really quite judiciously. So, go on, Shannon.
I would say that from my experience, and this could be different with the genre, from my experience, I had huge downloads. I had like over 5,000 downloads when I did a bunch of promo stacking for a free book. And I've never hit that again. And I think it's because, especially like some of these like free booksy, fussy librarian, they have their audiences, but the audiences don't change that much over a year.
No.
So they're only showing your book to their same audience, and they may have, X amount of new people. So I've never hit those download numbers again. And I think it's because of the audience, and it may be something that you have to wait a while, like a year or two, to get fresh audience in there. That's been my thought, because I've never hit the same numbers after doing the free promo and getting huge numbers.
What I would also say is, when I received the promo myself, because obviously it's very important when you look at promo to actually subscribe to the newsletter, so you actually see what it looks like. My book was like the second book featured when you open the email, which I think may have helped it to kind of succeed more, because people, if you're right at the bottom of the email, sometimes if it's like a mobile email client, it says, tap to read more. and people may not bother at that point, or the more they have to scroll down through the email, the kind of less chance and they have of reading the book or downloading the book rather. So I think I was kind of lucky there that I got a fairly high position on the actual newsletter itself. But I think the cost per sale, when I spend 5p or 6 cents for each promo, I think it was well worth the investment because it just got my book in front of people. It just kind of increased that reach. And I can actually claim with some legitimacy that I'm a chart-topping author.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
It's
And
also
really good.
worth
I was really
noting. It's also worth noting that if you're exclusive to Amazon, you can do a Kindle countdown deal for 99 cents and you will receive 70% royalty on those sales during that promo. Whereas if you set the price to 99 cents, you'd only get 35 pence royalties.
But then if you're not in Kindle Unlimited, then you can set your book free for however long you want. And for how you could do it every month if you wanted to. Although I've heard that Amazon's a bit hard to work with. You have to tell them to please price match it with your book on other retailers.
So interesting, this means that when these people eventually do read my book, I will start to get royalties through KENP. Might not be very much, but it's better than nothing.
If they download your book for free, it's not in KENP. They've got the actual file.
Oh, well.
But this is a good thing to note that now you got your book out there, right? You said it's sitting on their Kindle. This is a good place to note that this is where like your soft marketing, your social media posts, all that, keeping your book relevant in readers' minds. Like, oh wait, I did get that book, So,
or when they click onto it and see, oh, I've already bought that book. Maybe I should go and read it then.
Right? Yeah.
Because it will say on their account.
I did a 99 cents sale in January, and every month since I've had some page reads trickling in, sometimes just a few, others really quite a lot, but just from Amazon putting it in front of people where before there would be absolutely nothing unless I was running a promo.
And I have sales every month, even with me not doing all the promotions that I did last year, because I did a lot of book promotions last year I paid for. Even with not doing those, I still have sales every month. And I'm not in KU anymore. So.
Yeah, there were some issues.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say there were some issues with Ingram Spark, so I'm now fully in Amazon, and
I don't plan on using Ingram Spark. I'm going to go through Draft to Digital because they can get you in libraries now too. So, but I'm still getting KENP reads though, and from what I understand, I think if someone has your book, they got it while you were in KU, they have up to 6 months to read it before they no longer have access. So you can still get KENP even after you're out of KU. You said you went into KU, so then have you seen a difference in your monthly income, Ben?
No, nothing substantial. I went into KU. I switched. I've been doing a bunch of different processes, and I experimented with KU. I did the same thing that Richard did, where I bumped my book down to free for the book for a 1 week period, where it was the book anniversary of the first book. And so I kind of used that to try and funnel people to the second book as well. And I might do something similar in about a month and a half from the time you're reading this, because from the time you're watching this, because that will be the second book's anniversary. But no, I haven't really. I haven't been doing enough marketing within Amazon to have it be picked up in Kindle Unlimited. So I got that nice, wonderful spike in early August when my book was free, but I haven't really experienced anything since then. And part of the problem there is that I'm shifting out of Ingram Spark, so my book is technically available from a couple of different distributors at the moment. Without going into too many details, Ingram Spark made some changes, and I can definitely see a lot of people kind of jumping ship over time. So they are backed up. I sent the request to remove my books from their services, I don't know, a week and a half ago.
I think one thing I want to
They'll get to it eventually.
One thing I want to say, just going back to my kind of experience with the free promo, is I had the 5 days from Amazon that I set up. I think it's important to note that you should put the promos that you're booking and paying for as early in as possible, because some people may not read the newsletter on the day. So if they read it a couple of days later and see the book isn't free anymore, so if you have like the free book seed promo go out on the last day of your promo, you may be artificially cutting off potential downloads there. So I'm kind of glad I went for it on like the second or third day. And I would maybe sort of suggest maybe not booking a promo for like day 4 or 5, or maybe certainly not day 5, because that gives those people from before a chance to kind of catch up. Because I noticed the bump came mostly the free booksy ones are American readers.
Yeah,
So
there's more American readers than anywhere else.
Yeah, it came quite late in the day for me here in the UK. I've not really seen many UK specific iterations of these services, which is quite interesting.
Yeah.
So something I would point out, and this is something I've been researching quite a bit of, and I can't recall all the numbers to mind, is that, you know, Amazon every year is going up in how much money it's making. And of course, it just bumped up its monthly subscription of KU from $9.99 to $11.99. You would think that would somehow trickle down to authors, but it's not. Authors are making, on an average, 0.0035 cents per KMP, which is the same exact number that they were making in 2019. So it is not kept up with inflation. Authors are not making the money that Amazon's bringing in all this extra money. It's hit a ceiling, like a huge ceiling this year, and it's not coming down to authors.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's true about all things Amazon. I mean, I'm not really surprised. Just kind of, I honestly, I'm not even disappointed. I mean, that's just Amazon doing business, and there are billions, millions of books out there, so there will always be somebody kind of throwing their books into their services.
Geez, Ben, if only someone had written a book about an evil Amazon-like company taking over the world.
And this just kind of...
What are you talking about? Yellowstone's definitely not Amazon.
They're even worse.
Yeah.
And I think this also does kind of play into like where we see marketing going, because all companies come to an end. I don't think Amazon's ending anytime soon, but I do think it will eventually, because all companies do. They have... If you look at business models that people that work in business, and I can't recall this one name, there's one that he was talking about it, and he just looks at businesses in general, and he says there's a certain point that they reach where now they're just going to go down from there, and he feels that Amazon has reached that point. And so not that it goes down quickly, but it will happen eventually. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you're ready to talk about that question, but I do see...
Yeah, let's do it. We can bring this in for a landing. So we are almost out of time, and let's see, where do you think marketing will be going in the end of this year, moving on to 2024?
So I wouldn't say the end of this year, but I would say within the next year or two. I think that marketing for authors will become more important for authors to market that they are a real person. You know, because
take
of
a
AI.
shot, Shannon. Take a shot.
So, yes, I didn't say right, because I didn't say the actual name. But this takes into play. This is where platforms are really taking off, like your subscription platforms, like Patreon, Ko-fi, Ream. Then your direct sales, that's taking off, and then you have like a Kickstarter, which is a form of direct sales, and you can easily transfer the people you get. Because I did get some new people from Kickstarter. I got 60 people signed up to my newsletter list from Kickstarter. I had 122 backers. Or 65 people. It was 65 people. So, you know, over half of who backed me became a subscriber to my newsletter list. Well, if I already had direct sales or I had a subscription platform like Ream, I could easily transfer, you know, some of those probably would buy into my platform. I want to do Ream, so that's why I brought that up. I do want to get...
also interviewed somebody about
Ream
too.
Right, Inka. And there was a very, very specific reason, because I know I'm interested in Ream. So I want to get on there, and that is a way for authors to connect directly to their readers. And I do think that authors who want to make a legitimate living, especially if they don't have a big backlist, they're going to have to think bigger than just books. They're going to have to think about like the merchandising or selling themselves in some way. Like on these subscription platforms, you could meet with your followers, you know, once a month or something. So it's a way of selling yourself and connecting more one-on-one with your reader, versus on Amazon, when someone buys your book, you don't know who they are. They don't know who you are. They don't see you, they see your book. So right. I think that's where it's going to go in the future.
Well, Martin, that could lead right into what we discussed yesterday, if you want to talk about it.
As per usual, Shannon,
if not, we can cut this out.
What I was about to, and we have discussed it a bit. But my next experiment is going to be just that and moving into serialization. And I'm currently writing a series to serialize, where you put it up on various sites for free with an early access on a paid platform with higher tiers for things like video calls and what have you. I think Ream looks very interesting from an author's point of view, but I do worry that it doesn't have the public breakthrough that something like Patreon does. And certain platforms tie directly in with Patreon in a way they don't with Ream yet. So I haven't really got into the weeds of how I'm going to handle that. I'm actually writing everything first, and then I can put together a release schedule that I know I'll stick to. But I think that sort of thing, as well as direct sales, are going to be something that can make a difference. TikTok keep bugging me to open a TikTok shop, and I've kind of had my mind blown a little bit at the difference between selling a paperback if I'm ordering them as author copies versus selling them, someone just buying one off Amazon. You can make a lot more profit that way, which I really haven't looked into before. And that's definitely something we're going to be trying going forward and seeing what kind of results we get.
I know Ream is still really new. I think Martin and we've talked about this a little bit, but Ream is made with authors in mind. I don't know. I haven't used the platform yet. I haven't used any of them. I've been on Patreon. I've been on Ko-fi. I've seen how they're set up. And I think you might be talking about like how there's like third-party connections or something. Is that what you're saying, like on Patreon and stuff?
So one of the biggest serial platforms for sci-fi and fantasy is Royal Road. And if you're posting on Royal Road, on the sidebar, there's a donate button that you click, and it links directly to Patreon, but not other platforms. So if you have a Patreon, they can be there in one click. If you have a Ream, you would then have to put that in your author's notes and explain what it is and how they get there. And
Amelia Rose is like, she's a best-selling author, and she's part of the group that made Ream, and she's on Royal Road, I believe. She's on a couple different. She's on Wattpad. She has her beginning, what you're saying, putting the beginning chapters out there and then leading them back to your subscription platform. That's what she does. I don't know. It may be there in the future because Ream is still really, really new.
Absolutely, and that's my main concern is that someone's going to see it and be like, I do not know what that is, and I'm reluctant to give my payment information.
Yeah.
Like I think they've got some things to work out and don't currently have PayPal on the system, which is a bit of a hurdle.
Ream?
But I believe so. Yeah, and obviously it's all teething issues, and they'll get there. But that's my thoughts as it stands. Michael Evans, who's the one of the founders, has a book on serialization for authors that's free on Amazon, which is well worth a read if you're considering it.
And the creator economy, which is where I've gotten some of my thoughts from about how we need to connect with readers with more than just books. That it's going to be more than that if we're going to want to scale up our business.
That one's less free, but I hear it's good.
Mine free. I think I was part of a webinar or something where he offered it free. I do. He's like he's got a lot of energy. I love going to anything that he does that he talks about.
Gotcha.
But what I like about the idea with Ream is that it has its own e-reader. So like BookFunnel has its own e-reader. So that on Patreon, if you put a chapter up and like someone comes in, you're 10 chapters in, but they come in, they're going to see all the chapters there and they just keep scrolling. Where on Ream, they have an e-reader. So you can start at chapter 1 and then it's, you can pick up where you left off and stuff. So I like that idea better too. I like how it's more aligned with authors. Huh?
Absolutely. And I think they've even got a system where you can connect it to like an e-ink device. through the Kindle browser. And I think absolutely it's a better experience for authors and for readers. But
It's still
do you
new.
want to pick a
New.
do you want to pick a platform where it's going to be your job to explain that, or do you want to go with something people are familiar with?
Well, I've already been there with Kickstarter because not everybody knows what Kickstarter is. You just learn to warm up your audience.
Kickstarter is
Yeah. You know, I was talking about
Kickstarter is already something with a lot of mainstream breakthrough.
Yeah, but there's still so many people who don't know what Kickstarter is. So it was something I had to kind of, explain to my audience. And I do think that a lot of your subscriptions will come from your own audience. So and that's what I'm concentrating on right now, is building my audience and then trying to slowly move over to some of these other platforms.
And I think it bears saying as well, just sort of bringing this home, but a lot of what we've discussed is really maximized if you have a complete series. A lot of people get into this with the mindset of, I'll try writing one, but writing books is hard. I'll try writing one and seeing how it does. And how it does is people go, I've never heard of this guy. They've got one book out. I'll wait until he's got 12 and come back.
Yeah.
And I would say writing is the easiest part of all of this. Marketing yourself is so much harder.
Yeah, I'm going down the same road where I am planning to have my third book fully finished, everything ready to go for a specific conference. And so then I'll do like an in-person selling of my newest book, while at the same time I'll also be doing some simultaneous promotions that I'll have set up to go automatically in the background starting on that day. So I'm planning to do like a nice little drop then, and then maybe like a week later I'll do a YouTube book release party or something along those lines. But yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot more in real life events. And in fact, well, between now, it's the 30th when we're recording this, and when we get this out there, it'll be on the 22nd. So between now and then, actually the last weekend when you're watching this, the weekend before, I will have been at a library event for local authors where I'll be trying to sell my book. So I'm going to be trying to mix in that personal connection in real life with the online marketing through Facebook ads, fussy librarian, voracious readers, all of those different tools that I sort of funnel through. And in fact, I'm trying to use BookFunnel as a way to aggregate everything together and give out those free versions of my book that people then read and ideally review. And I'm going to try and really expand what I'm actually doing. I'll take the successes I had this year and build off of those. I think the offering my book for free, while I obviously didn't see a profit, I did notice a significant number of downloads. So I'm going to try and use that to run promotions during that time and hopefully get a lot more people to garner interest in this. And then from there, the algorithms can kind of pick it up when the book isn't free. At least that's what I'm going to aim for.
Richard, what do you see the future of marketing?
That's a good question. Definitely AI generated, to be honest. I did see a poll on Twitter, or should I say X, formerly known as Twitter, where someone was asking whether they thought it was acceptable for authors to use AI generated images in their promo posts. I think 60% of the authors answered wrong and said, no, it's not acceptable. I do think it is acceptable, and it's a useful tool for AI. Stuff such as ChatGPT. Shannon, you can have a shot now. But yeah, I kind of see a lot of that kind of creeping in as like sort of ancillary stuff around our writing activity.
So I did want to close this out, but at the same time, you just opened up a whole can of worms. So how do you feel? Because we are indie authors, and obviously we would be very upset if AI went through and created a whole bunch of books.
Yeah.
But you're kind of doing the same sort of thing for indie artists. And I recognize that we can't go out to an indie artist and get, in addition to our book covers, our beautiful book covers, we can't necessarily get a whole bunch. It's not feasible. It's quite expensive to get, custom character designs and everything that Shannon used her Kickstarter to offset the costs of. So I mean, there's got to be some kind of balance between getting that money up front to really help to, one, identify who your fans are, and to use, to have them support the making of this wonderful work before having to put all those burdens on the artist, versus doing everything free through AI, but at the same time kind of taking away from potential indie artists.
It's a hard line, because like, even for like one of the things I was trying to get an artist for my Kickstarter, now I made $3,800 in my Kickstarter. It was done. I was trying to get an artist, and I reached out to someone, I gave him my link and everything, and they came back and they said it was gonna be $1,000 for that character artwork that I was trying to get done. I'm like, I only made 3,800. You're taking 1,000. You're taking like almost like a fourth, of more than a fourth of what I made for that. I was like, I can't afford it. I said, I'm sorry, I can't afford it. And it's funny because they also looked at my YouTube and saw that I talked about AI, and they're like, well, they gave me this whole lecture in an email about why I should not be using AI and why AI is bad. And then they end it with, it's going to cost $1,000 for that one character artwork. And I'm like, I can't, after paying for a book cover and paying for the wallpaper. And the wallpaper was only, I think that was $299. That was $299. And then I've already got some other artwork done for my next Kickstarter. That was $400. Yeah. So I'm like, how am I going to pay $1,000 for this one piece? I was like, it's no wonder, that someone would want. Indie authors are not made of money. We're trying to make money from our craft as well. And we're trying to do all these things. How can we pay for it? But at the same time, I understand the other side. I've never sold any of my artwork. I've had people offer money for my artwork. I just can't sell it. If I make it just to make it, I can't sell it. But so I understand the other side of that I was trying to make some money. So it's a very hard line, because as an artist, you want to be paid and compensated for what you make. But then as indie authors, we don't usually come with a bunch of money to make our books.
Right. So, and even if we did, we wouldn't be able to, even if we did have money to throw at a problem, we wouldn't make it up from.
We wouldn't make it back.
Those
I'm
sales.
Still $4,000 in debt with my first series. Yeah.
I think the difference here is it's proposing to use AI to create like sort of promo images that you use on your social media posts. And I think what you're talking about is commissioning an art to then be sold as part of your Kickstarter. I don't think that's
But still, what they're saying is that we should be commissioning artists then to make our post, or we should be paying for stock photos or something.
We can't do that. We can't.
We can't. We don't have the budget for that. Most of us do not have a budget for that. And to recoup it, like Ben said.
I think there is going to have to be some sort of happy medium in the middle.
And going forwards, it's going to be difficult. Just because you're paying someone $1,000 for to create, an image for you. You have no guarantee that they have not used AI in their process. And, Photoshop now has AI features built in.
What is AI?
In the years ahead, if you actively don't want to use software that has, any AI features at all, you're going to have a very hard time doing that.
Right. In this last month, Windows in this last month, Windows, Microsoft, and Mac have both included AI with their programs.
I'll be turning that off immediately.
Amazon now have a set of questions they ask when you upload a book, including about images. And when I was seeing what they were asking, most authors wouldn't even know how to answer it if they didn't create the artwork themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you are hiring somebody to do it, then you're kind of assuming that they are assuming the risk and burdens, and that they are making the art themselves, that they aren't using AI tools to do it. But yes, we are we've gone off on
AI, because it's not just clicking one button and having a cover necessarily.
Sure.
I was listening to a podcast with quite a large cover design company talking about how they are now using it to create elements for layers within an image.
Or to create characters that you can't find in stock images, like a female news reporter on the war lines, battle lines, because you don't have a lot of war reporters who are females.
All right.
They wouldn't be
Well,
posing for photos in the war zone, would they?
well, we have gone completely off topic, going from marketing directly into AI. We've skipped a few steps there, and we have run out of time, unfortunately, but we have come up with some. Hopefully, we've shared enough of our marketing successes that this video is useful. Let's go around in a circle and just say really quickly, just what marketing do you really want to use moving forward? And then just give a shout out for closing out.
Do we start with
Richard, since you got us off topic, you want to bring us back.
Okay, I'm Richard. I'm the author of this book. Go and buy it. What marketing I'll be using in future will be anything is better than the none I was using before.
That's right. So you didn't hold up your newsletter.
Oh yeah, this. Subscribe to my newsletter. Go and do that now.
All right, Martin. Who are you? What? Where can people find you? And marketing. What will you do moving forward?
I write the McMurdo Riff books under the pen name Bradley Lejeune with my brilliant cohort Malcolm Bradley. You can find us at bradleylejeune.com or searching the McMurdo Rift on Amazon. And we are looking to do more stuff with serialization, working with street teams, and generally using video to show personality.
And I'm Shannon. I write under the pen name of SC Houston. You can find my current book, A Curse of Scales and Feathers, which is an enemies to lovers epic fantasy romance on Indiegogo until I finish fulfilling. Thank you. Until I finish fulfilling my Kickstarter, and then I am going to try direct sales just for about a couple weeks, where I'm going to offer it to like my newsletter for a reduced price for a bundle set. So developing how that's going to look, and then I'll do a launch on retailer platforms. So you can look out for that. I am now wide with my books, and so you can find my current series on most platforms, and you can find me on YouTube under the name of SC Houston. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Well, my current marketing strategy for the future is I'm going to continue doing Kickstarter, and I'm going to move into using Ream next year so that I can start moving my interested audience into Ream. And then so my marketing plan will be Kickstarter to, but I'll have Ream. I'll have early access to the book I'm working on for my next Kickstarter. That'll be on Ream, to full book being on Kickstarter, then to direct sales for a few weeks, and then marketing on and other retailer platforms. So that's where I plan to head in the future.
And I'm Ben Pick. You're here. This is Running to Write. Questionable writing advice through writing metaphors. I'm also the author of Falling Through and Expanding Cracks, the first and second books in my Into the Void series. I'm working on the third book right now. It is, well, by now it's probably almost, by the time you're watching this, it's probably almost back from the developmental editor. I am going to, this weekend we're recording this, work on generating or creating a title for the third book. I have a couple of ideas I'm going to discuss with a couple of trusted people to sort of bounce ideas off of and figure out what works for that book. In terms of marketing the future, like I said, I'm going to be doing, unlike everyone else, I'm going to be doing a lot more in-person events. That is my goal. I don't think I'll have a process set up to make me effective in Ream, although that is definitely something I want to look into, maybe for the fourth book, once I have it, halfway written, or even a zero draft ready to go, because I really want to. I'm a very slow writer, especially when it conflicts with my day job. So it is difficult for me to. That's the same reason why I didn't do Kindle Vella, because I can't consistently deliver the same thing week in, week out with a quality that I would be comfortable with. And so I would much rather have, a zero draft that I'm sort of editing and then giving those chapters out to the public. So we'll see where I am a year from now. But for right now, I'm probably just going to do more of the same. Voracious readers, trying to convert some of the people who have my books into actual readers who then leave reviews. So I'm going to work on my entire funnel process to, once you read it, then you give a review, and then that gets picked up. So I will have a couple of book promotions that are out there to get in readers, and then hopefully they'll stay and review. And that is my plan. So thank you everyone for joining me. This was a wonderful conversation, and
Thanks for having me.
yep, I will see you all next time. So take care.
Bye.